New Zealand's favorite son can push his way into the top 8 as well. Matt Rogers, he's ready to go. Christopher Iaali, he's ready to go as well on Prism. Both these players at 9-2. Now, things happen. They might make it in with a loss. I know that Matt Rogers didn't have the best record coming into day 2, so that might be something that he might have to win to
has
make it
not
in here.
lost on day 2.
Right.
So I would assume breakers are probably a little bit worse for Matt Rogers. Really looking to get this W.
He did say that if he 4-0 today, which it seems like he has, that he's probably a lock for top 8, but we'll see.
Okay.
Things happen, and then Christopher Iaali, because it matters how many people are in the same spot as him as well.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna this is gonna be sped up just a little bit, I think. Some very quick players as well. So this may seem a little fasty at times, especially on Matt Rogers' side. He's very, very quick player.
Yeah, we'll do our best to keep you up to speed. So far, we have a Star Vote activation. You see that Star Vote pulled forward. Going to go ahead, set up this turn, try and find a little damage is Matt Rogers.
All right, let's set this game up. Looks like we got the same equipment suite out of the 2 players that we saw in the last game, so we're just going to run this one back. It looks like we're going to start out with a dominated +2 powered breaker rounds. This is a 9 power dominated attack, but this does have go again, so this one's going straight at Christopher here. And then we're going to see what follow-up and what aura Matt's going to want to pop.
Yeah, I expect we'll do this a little bit more as the day goes on. There's going to be more Prisms. There's going to be more Bravos. But you see how good this matchup is. It's so interesting, so swingy, so skill-intensive. I've got no objections to seeing a bunch more of this in the top 8. But we've got those dark horses we mentioned. We have the Briar list already locked up for top 8. Got to see if Chain can convert. Are there any Viscerais still lurking around? We'll see when the time comes.
Yeah, it looks like that Merciful Retribution is going to be the one that's taken down. Looks like Christopher took all of the damage here this turn. It goes to 31, and it looks like this is going to be a Genesis at the end of Matter's turn. One of those big, important auras that you like to talk about, the instant speed ones that these garner a lot of attention. You need to make sure you keep these off the board.
No, absolutely, and Genesis able to both fill the soul and draw a card, as it's going to do here. Christopher would love to see a yellow pitch. Go ahead and activate that Prism, get a second Spectral Shield out, and start getting real wide real fast. Does not look like that's the case. Just going to get in with Pierce, although there could still be a late activation here.
Yeah, speaking of activation, this is an activation of Crown of Seeds from Matt Rogers. Going to put a Prevention Shield. That Pierce Reality is not going to do any damage. There is some mana floating here for Matt Rogers as well. Maybe getting that Ram's Head involved, though. Doesn't look like there's any more attacks this turn. No yellow to be put into the pitch. It looks like that is an Arsenal and a pass from Christopher. Back over to Matt Rogers. This is really testing my speed talking, by the way. Reveal here for Bravo.
I believe in you, Tannen. I believe in you. Go faster.
It looks like we got a breaker on attacking for, you're going to make me talk too fast. Breaker on attacking for 11 here, dominated, and we still got a few cards left over to pop up. I'm assuming this Genesis. That's usually public enemy number 1 for me.
Yep, that would be my expectation. We'll probably swing the Winter's Wail at the Genesis after we try and, again, force a little damage through this break ground.
I've been training for this my whole life, Brian.
I know. I really believe you can do this, Tannen. Don't worry. Complete and total faith. Matt Rogers, more traditional, I would say. There are the D-reacts, maybe not as many as someone like, say, Michael Hamilton, who we saw very focused on the defensive side of things. But there's some options like that here.
Yeah, it looks like we've got a Arsenal and a pass here. I'm trying not to listen to what's going on. I think they're actually about to call the top 8 here, so I'm trying not to get spoiled myself here.
I think what we're hearing is the calling of the top 8 for the Battle Hardened.
Okay, the Battle Hardened.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't, because we're watching this match. We're watching it live, but it's also already been finished. We're trying to give you the match in the entirety, and I don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah, if it does happen where they start announcing the top 8, we'll be sure to go ahead and mute our microphones. You hear us go silent for a little bit. We don't want to spoil it before we have the final announcement.
Does look like this War Tune Hero is going to get blocked out by an Autumn Touch that is going to blow it up. Nothing happens here. Pierce Reality going to come through. It looks like the Crown of Seeds is going to prevent that as well, and it does look like we're going to follow up with one more aura here.
Of course it is. It's a 9.5 Crown of Seeds. It's actually more effective than
that one actually,
a 9 or an 8.
That one actually blocks 1.25 damage.
Yeah, no, it's
so,
good.
Okay.
Amp that up a little bit.
Now, it's really funny. Flake always likes to make the joke. He's like, this is how humble Matt Rogers is. He only has one 9.5 on his own grades. All stuff is 9, but with the time skippers out, we see the second 9.5 join. Now, this is one of my favorite turns. Oaken Old is going to get played and fused here for Matt Rogers. It looks like one of the most important. You know what? I got to say this. I think this is the best attack overall in the deck. I think it's the one that really churns this deck that really keeps it going.
No, I agree with you, Tannen. There's certainly situational spots where other things can shine brighter, but it's Oakenold that is the meat and potatoes attack. And by the way, this is one of the most dominant starts we've seen from the Bravo side into the Prism matchup. This one could slip away from Christopher if this Oakenold connects. If another turn is lost, you might just see Matt Rogers run away with this one.
Yeah, and all of my testing with this deck, all of my play through ProQuest, every time I'd ever hit my opponent with Oakenold, if I had even a remotely good turn after this, I felt so far ahead in all of my games.
Yeah, and you see Christopher just lining up a huge, huge block here. Going to cash in Skull Cap. Going to look to use Gauntlets and maybe some additional cards. Oh, never mind. Reset.
Another 5-yard penalty here for a false start. It looks like we're just going to block with 1 card from hand. So this Oakenold is going to get some damage through, and time to... Oh, okay, I like this play. We're going to be able to get in a Aura at instant speed, so no cards from hand are lost from the Oakenold here.
No, a really good use of your turn if you're going to be challenged by that Oakenold is to go ahead and sink it into an Aura. And you saw Christopher Iaali do exactly that.
It looks like the last card in his hand is going to be another Pierce Reality.
Yeah, nice
for
follow-up. A pretty decent turn overall.
You know, we talk a lot about how beautiful Matt Rogers' deck is, how beautiful his cards are. Look at those sleeves he's got for this deck as well. I can't wait to get my hands on those myself.
Yeah, and Matt Rogers, an Oldhim fan for sure. I know was working really hard to bring that deck back to competitive viability. Ultimately, succumbed like the rest of us. Bravo star of the show. Too powerful to ignore.
It's really great because if you've ever played against Oldhim as Bravo star of the show, it feels futile to even play the game. It's one of the worst matchups you can have. But when you start seeing decks like this Prism deck, or God forbid you see a Viserai on the other side of the table, it is going to be a very, very bad day for you. The Viserai into Oldhim might be one of the most lopsided matches in all of Flesh and Blood.
I buy that. I'm just going to go ahead and clear out some more auras.
Looks like a Haze Bending's going to get done here. And here, we've seen this play a few times today and used a very, very big effect. It looks like a blink into an Autumn's Touch from the Arsenal. It looks like, I think this one's going to after the Merciful Retribution.
I think you're right. Yep, that's going to get cleared out. And so Matt Rogers has Christopher Iaali down to a somewhat vulnerable life total at 19, but also doing a very good job keeping up those more impactful auras. We do see 3 auras on the side of Christopher Iaali. Double Pierce Reality. I mean, it's good. It'll have an impact on the game, but ultimately it's nothing that Matt Rogers can't play through.
Yeah, this Wartune Herald is a +4
Yeah,
here.
there you see those Pierce Realities go ahead and do a little pumping. Nothing to save that, though, from being challenged on the Phantasm side of things. So let's see if that's the route Matt Rogers wants to take. It is. Autumn's Touch going to go ahead, come down.
Looks like the Phantasmal Footsteps are going to do their thing here, make sure an action point is recovered.
Yep, regain the action point.
Yep. Go ahead, give me all 3 of this. Matt Rogers receives the 3-1 damage tax, and that's a Cataclysm.
Yeah, Celestial Cataclysm for the follow-up. We haven't seen a lot of Cataclysm today. It's an important card, but it just, for whatever reason, doesn't come up that often.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I don't have experience playing with Prism. I have a lot of experience calling it, and you see Matt very quickly, give me the damage, give me the damage. I want to show you these 3 cards in my hand real quick. I got something real nice for you. It was on sale.
Yeah, real nice Bravo turn here for Matt Rogers. Going to see if there's an on-hit, and it looked like there was a Spinal Crush in the arsenal. So that being amped up by that Bravo ability could be a really big deal here.
Let's see. I think he's thinking about how much, if he wants to, I think he has to pitch his entire hand here to be able to play it.
Does seem to be the case.
He's moving so fast, I can't keep up, Brian. I don't know what all these cards are.
I think he has 7 total resources. I think he's got 2 blues and a red, so he can't get both. Yeah, and that's why we're seeing this approach. He's going to go ahead and use the Autumn's Touch.
He wants to make sure he can use this go again this turn.
Absolutely. So Autumn's Touch just going to get amped up, so no on hit. I would expect that Spectral Shield to just chill.
But this is 9 dominated damage coming at Christopher. Christopher with a hand, an arsenal, and a few shields in play. 1 Spectral Shield, a couple of auras. Looks like Skullcap's going to jump in front and make sure you get that 2 block when you can. So it looks like 2 is going to get soaked up. Another 1 from the Spectral Shield. And it does look like Christopher went down to 14.
Here's the follow-up. Assuming we're looking at a Winter's Wail, but let's see. Matt doing a little counting. Yeah, Winter's Wail is going to clean up Pierce Reality.
Matt doing a really good job this game of pacing everything, just getting a ton of damage into the face, but also some damage. Oh, here we go. Nice little instant speed. Ode to Wrath.
Yeah, looking to push a little extra damage through those small attacks. They all get a little bit bigger with Ode to Wrath.
Yep. Matt got a big turn set up here coming up. He's got 4 cards in hand, a card in arsenal. He's got that Spring Tunic up to 3.
Yeah, I'm still pretty confident that's a Spinal Crush too, so that could be a really big swing. Miraging Metamorph going to be the play here from Christopher Iaali. Matt says, yep, that tells me there's something big going on next turn.
Just took all of it. And like I said, we talked about this earlier, whenever the turn isn't insanely complicated, Matt Rogers is going to be one of the faster players that you see. Okay, we're going to be muting our mics here. It looks like the top 8 is going to be announced. We do not want to spoil this for anybody.
In the top 32, we will need
All right, the top 8 has just been announced, but we're going to keep calling this game and let everybody find out in the way that it was intended.
Yep.
Flesh and blood, like James White intended.
This is a key matchup determining our top 8. We know the winner is going to be in. Who's it going to be? Now we finally see that Spinal Crush leveraged by Matt Rogers.
So we've got a block here on the Spinal Crush. I'm having to get myself back into the game. You and I couldn't help but listen into that top 8. And we were trying to keep up with it.
We're already living in the future, Tannen. You and I, for the first time maybe in our lives, we're not stuck in the past, living in the future.
I don't know if anyone's ever going to say that about me ever again, so we'll see. It looks like a Soul Shield from hand, going to block out some damage here. That's going to go to the Soul.
Really critical block here for Christopher Iaali.
Yeah, Soul Shield, multiple purposes here, saving some life, putting another card in Soul, helping Christopher pressure Matt a little bit more, prevent some damage from some of these big attacks. Really important to have Soul Shields in this matchup against dominated attacks.
No, absolutely. The D-Reacts, they've worked their way into all these lists for a reason. Not only Soul Shield, but those unmovables becoming an absolute fixture in this metagame. Looks like this winner's going face now, ignoring that Ode to Wrath, trying to push a little bit more damage through.
There's a point in every game in this matchup where you can see some of the Oldhim players ramp up the aggression and kind of start to ignore what's on the board. And it looks like Matt is like, that's where we're at. He's like, give me some cards from your hand, or I'm going to hit you. And this is a cold 4 as well.
Yeah.
There's a Frostbite on hit here.
Potential disruption there, rolled up. And who better to identify the moment when you're supposed to make that change than the #1 flesh and blood player in the world?
He was actually talking about this recently in an interview on Flake's podcast, Instant Speed. He was talking about the fact that he actually doesn't take it lightly that he's the #1 player of the world and still the #1 player of the world, because he realizes something that you've been saying all weekend, that the average player in Flesh and Blood, especially at these events, is just getting better and better and better, and everybody's kind of like regressing more to the mean. There's just everyone's getting better all across the board and very quickly. And so he knows that he might not be able to hold on to that, for the next couple of years, because while he is a great player, I'm not trying to take anything away from him, there's so much talent coming up, so many people with so much fire wanting to play in all these events. Seeing people, young players, some of the old guard like David Rood as well coming in. And so he said he's just relishing it now while he's still got it. But he's still got some chops.
Oh, absolutely. And having the humility to recognize, my time isn't going to last forever. It's possible someone can challenge me. That's the type of attitude that lets you continue to improve over time. And it's a tall task for the #1 player in the world to improve over time. But again, that's the right mindset to do it.
Yeah, it looks like the Crater Fist is going to go away. This is a Starvo activation here from Matt. He might be
Bravo
seeing
time.
the writing on the wall. He can maybe taste this top 8. Looks like we're going to have a big attack from him. This is an Oaken Old and Fused. This is an 11 power dominating Oaken Old that is going to strip cards from Christopher Iaali's hand. Let's see, can Chris play anything here, maybe get a defensive reaction, play some auras from hand, and still survive this turn? This is going to be a tall task.
Yeah, I mean, so still a good amount of equipment left, has those gauntlets ready to go. Could cash in Footsteps if you had to. A Skull Cap able to make one more block. And, of course, Tunic could be thrown in front of this Oaken Old, but without a D-React, this is going to be a really challenging turn for Christopher to survive because there's more coming after this.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about these Oaken Old turns, right? You only invest 3 resources to go ahead and make this gigantic attack, so the follow-up is almost easy.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot. This hand almost always works this way. When you reveal for Starvo and you're attacking with an Oaken Old, the Lightning card is almost always able to pitch for 3, so the last 2 cards can be used to fuse Oaken Old as well to get another 2 points of power as well. That's why you're seeing this 11 power dominating attack here from Matt. And Chris is in the tank. He's in the blender. What is he going to do? He's taking a little bit of extra time here, and I do not blame him. He knows that this is probably the most important turn of the entire calling for him so far.
Absolutely. Trying to find a way to punch that ticket to the top 8 against the best player in the world. You couldn't ask for higher stakes for Christopher Iaali. And this is how you make champions. When people find a way out of scenarios like this, they find a way to win. That's how you start making your legend in Flesh and Blood.
It's how you start making heroes. It's how you start making a name for yourself. Not only did you top 8 a call, and you beat Matt Rogers along the way in a hell of a match to do so, but he's got to get through Matt here, and it's not looking good this turn. This turn very, very hard, really putting Chris on the back foot here.
Yeah, and you see Chris glancing over towards the equipment, considering every option to block.
How much do I invest? How much can I afford to invest and still play in this game? And it looks like we've got a decision. It looks like the gauntlets are going to come out to play.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was time for those to get cashed in. This is generally where you want to use them. Anytime you can maybe blunt a big on hit, but it looks like there's going to be no D-React given that this is a play from hand.
Yeah, it looks like a Herald coming from hand as well.
It could be an Arsenal, to be fair. I mean, you could still see a D-React rolled up in the Arsenal, but I think this decision would have been a little bit easier were that the case.
All right, looks like we're pitching here. Maybe playing, we'll say, yep, playing an Arc Sentinel after this as well. So that's going to soak up that second attack this turn. So it looks like Christopher is going to go down to 2, not pitch any cards here. Matt, if he wants to, he's going to have to attack this Arclight Sentinel with what's left over. I think he's just going to take a second, gather his thoughts, think about what does he want to do next turn to try to finish this game off because he can taste this top 8. Yeah,
He's going to go ahead and clean out the Sentinel with the hammer.
Christopher down to 2, no cards in hand.
Precarious life total and not going to be able to do anything here. Just going to draw back up, pass the turn back to Matt. And if Matt finds any kind of hand here, you have to wonder if the writing is on the wall.
You got to get that 1 in. That's important. That's for you. You get to take that home with you. That 1 matters. Can't miss that. Even if you're on your way out, you still get that last point of damage in against Matt Rogers.
I use a saying that definitely dates me. It's till the axe is touched, Tannen.
That one's over my head.
It's in reference to the game Super Mario Brothers, which you may have heard of, released in 1985. You win the game by touching the axe, sneaking past Bowser. And back in my college days, we used to speedrun the game a lot. And when you messed up...
What is it, like the second level where you get to jump up and off the screen? And,
Yep,
yeah.
Yep, you can do all that.
I got some chops in that game.
There
I
you
play
go.
a little Nintendo.
But when we messed up on a speedrun, part of our mindset was you play until the axe is touched. You keep going, you finish your run, and you learn something along the way.
For one last self-deprecating and dating comment, when I was playing my Nintendo on my first television, it was black and white.
Mine too, yeah. Yep, that's pretty painful.
You had to turn it to a specific channel.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Channel 3.
All right, let's go back to the channel of Flesh and Blood here.
Please bring us back to Flesh and Blood. I am demoralized right now.
All right, looks like they're going to have a draw up from Christopher. It looks like the 1 which is accepted from Matt Roger. Really thinking about if he wanted to use that Arsenal to prevent that 1, but it doesn't look like he wants to. He wants to keep this Channel Lake frigid here. It's going to make everything a little harder for Chris. This is also going to force a decision. Do you want to use your Tunic? You're going to have to do it now.
Yep.
Do you want to do these things you need
Do you
to
have
do
anything
now?
to deploy? Do you have an aura you want to play at instant speed? Better do it now.
It's like Ice Quake into Ice Hammer.
Looking to push through some big damage with the hammer here.
Maybe he's deciding if he wants to go after this Ode to Wrath.
It's interesting. It's an interesting decision.
So just going to take a second and think about it. Maybe lose his glasses for a moment.
I think I like challenging Christopher's life total still. It just takes so many resources away from Christopher. Forced to respond at this point.
Yeah, Matt just going over all the permutations here, just making sure. I kind of agree with you. I think you was correct. It does look like Matt agrees with you as well. He's like, you know what? You, mate.
I always like when I can line up with the best player in the world. We're on the same page.
It happens so infrequently, you really got to savor the moment, Ryan.
I'm taking this as a sign that I'm on my way to that #1 ranking. It's just a matter of time now.
I mean, he was saying he's ready to give it up. You might need to come out of the booth.
Yeah. Who's going to keep you in check, though, Tannen, if I leave?
That's a really good question. It's definitely not going to be Flake.
I know. I feel like it's my duty to stick around.
For the good of the game.
Yeah. So you see Christopher having a hard debate here about what to do with this win as well, and that tells me that Matt made the right decision here. It's just a nightmare scenario for Christopher.
It's certainly going to be more than one card out of his hand here, too, right? Like, you can maybe
Almost
go
certainly.
to one, but...
Almost certainly. You would expect so. Just because it's going to be really hard to put together any kind of good turn anyway under that channel Lake Frigid, so...
Yeah, it does look like this is going to be a double block from hand for Christopher. You can kind of taste this top 8 for Matt Rogers, gaining a little bit closer. But is Christopher going to be able to pull a rabbit out of his hat here? We've seen some crazy comebacks here this weekend. There was definitely a match on day 1 where I wrote a player off, and I wrote them off way too soon. And they won a very long and elaborate game that I thought was going to be almost impossible for them to win.
You know, I could sit here and sing the praises of Flesh and Blood for myriad reasons, but one of the best things... Every game is close. Every game comes down to the wire. No matter what has happened early, there's always a point where there's a chance for a player to get back into it. There's a chance to draw that hand of, you know, no attack, all reds. Anything can throw off your plan. And in that scenario, the other player can always turn the corner. You're never quite out of it in Flesh and Blood.
Let's see, what does Christopher have up his sleeve here for this turn? Will
Only
this
a
be the
couple
start of a
cards.
great comeback, or will this be his last turn here in this game?
Looks like a Soul Shield in hand for Christopher.
That's going to help out quite a bit. So it does look like the activation.
I wonder if
Crown
this was,
Seeds.
yeah, it was just a pass from
Yeah.
Christopher. No play.
Yeah, a little arsenal. Yeah, he's got this D-react ready, but this is a. Oh, this is going to be really hard for him
Bravo
to beat.
time.
Yeah, so the channeling Frigid out is gonna be a problem here this turn. Bravo's been activated. Spring Tunic's up to 3. And oh, I see an actual Guardian attack here. This is going to
Yep.
be for a massive amount of
Yeah,
damage.
that's a Spinal Crush, and that is just going to be absolutely huge when Matt Rogers fires that one off. I don't know if Christopher can find the blocks here.
The Soul Shield you're talking about is going to help, but how much? Remember, the Channeling Fridge is out. This is going to complicate a lot of stuff this turn.
Yeah, it needs to be a resource-heavy hand to be able to go ahead and deploy that Soul Shield. You got to have a blue. It's just critical.
I think Matt's looking for how many defensive reactions have you played so far? Yep, that's what he's doing. I think he's counting it up here. He's going to make sure he's like, you know what, this might be all rolled up. Even if you have a defensive reaction with Channel Lake out, are you able to even stop enough? You still got one block here. You see him pointing at the equipment. You still got one block there, one block there. Yep, doing all the math. It does look like this is going to be a giant dominated Spinal Crush.
Big 11 coming towards Christopher Iaali. No, there's a Soul Shield. Channel Lake Frigid complicating things dramatically, though. Going to need a lot more resources to piece together a solid turn here. And there's probably follow-up coming. You have to assume once you have this go again, it's probably a hammer coming behind, so you have to be able to account for both.
And I think that's going to be the problematic part for Christopher. He's trying to figure out, he's like, I think I can survive maybe this attack, but it's the one behind that's going to deal me in. Is this the turn that puts Matt Rogers into the top 8 of this calling? A man very dedicated to Flesh and Blood, flying all over the world, representing himself as that #1 player, showing the dedication coming all the way from New Zealand here in Indianapolis, Indiana.
You know, we don't quite have the globetrotting culture yet, but if anyone,
coming.
yeah, it's coming, and if anyone is ahead of the curve, it's Matt Rogers. Been a fixture at these North American callings and doesn't show any signs of stopping soon.
I also don't know if anybody loves this game more.
Fair enough.
I mean, you're pretty high on the list, I'm aware, but I don't know if anybody can compare to Matt Rogers.
Once I actually do achieve the goal of being the #1 player in the world, I imagine that'll only amp up my excitement even more.
Can't wait for the day. I'm waiting on bated breath. Speaking of waiting, is this it? Is this the turn that gets it through for Matt? Let's see. Lining up blocks. Looks like Arcanite Skullcap. Looks like the Tunic's getting in front.
Yeah, very full Tunic. Unfortunately, not useful when that Channel Lake Frigid is on the battlefield.
Doesn't actually do much. Remember, this is dominated.
Yeah, that matters. I mean, there's just very low chance of efficient blocks should it be dominated.
with it taking this much time, I wonder, even with Soul Shield, it's like you said, it's the attack behind this that's probably going to do him in.
Yeah, and going to block with one from hand as well. Throw that passing Mirage, put a bunch into the Soul Shield. That's everything onto this block.
So it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is that 10? So it
Going to
goes
fall
on
to
the
one. Has
and
the follow-up hammer. Footsteps, okay. And that's going to get the fist bump, and that means Matt Rogers is going to slide in to our